to Garden Style. Well, today, as promised, I was going to cover camellias, which is another late winter, early spring blooming shrub. There's about 2 to 3 different varieties of camellias, primary varieties anyway. We have camellias that come as a Sasanqua series. I don't know why I have such a hard time pronouncing that. We also have it in a Japonica series and Sinensis. So I'm going to explain to you the differences between the three. This one that you see here standing next to me, which is starting to bloom like crazy, I see buds all over it, this happens to be Sasanqua. And those particular varieties of camellias are actually pretty hardy, and they can withstand a little more sun than your Japonica or Sinensis series. They also have a smaller leaf. So if you're in the nursery and they don't quite tell you what's going on between the varieties and you're looking for a Sasanqua, these will withstand a lot more sun, but they also have a smaller leaf. And I have actually 3 different kinds of leaves here. But the 2 primary ones, this is Japonica, which is a larger leaf, and the Sasanqua are a little bit smaller. Their flowers tend to be a little smaller as well, but they can withstand more sun. Now, Sasanquas, I have found, actually bloom a little sooner than the other 2 varieties. And then when you get to a Japonica series, those are the types of camellias where you'll find lots of big, huge double flowers, just beautiful flowers. And I'll shoot some pictures up there for you as soon as I'm done in this video so you can get an idea of the different varieties that are out there. But camellias, to me, are one of the easiest shrubs to grow as long as you know what type of conditions they prefer. But before I get into that, I also wanted to share a little trivia with you. The Sinensis series is actually one of those types of plants, camellia plants, where you can get green tea or black tea, which I thought was fascinating when I found that out. And you'll also notice between this leaf and this leaf, this is actually the Sinensis series, and they have a much more serrated type of leaf on the outside, and it is a little smaller compared to the Japonica series. But both of them, in fact all 3 of them, require some of the same conditions, but the 2 varieties in the Japonica and Sinensis series actually prefer a little more shade. So now I'll explain to you how to take care of these plants. Now the camellias, you can grow them in a pot, and once you plant them, you can probably keep them in that pot for 3-4 years. You can also put them in the ground. They do like a more acidic soil. So if you're growing azaleas and rhododendrons, camellias actually take some of the same similar conditions as the other 2 plants, azaleas and rhodies. They like a slightly acid soil, they like being in the shade, and they love to be trimmed. So I always tell folks, when they're done doing their blooming thing, trim off the ends. And once you trim them, or you can turn them into a hedge if you want to, they will produce even more blooms the following year. But wait until they're done blooming. And that way you're sure not to be cutting off this year's blooms, as they do like to grow and produce their blooms on old growth from the previous year. Camellias come in so many different varieties and colors. The primary colors for camellias are lots of whites, different shades of white, ivory, pink, dark reds, fuchsias. And once they get going and they get established, they'll bloom their little hearts out. But they like to be fed. So you want to make sure to feed them, especially while they're in their bloom time. That way they can produce more flowers, as that just creates more energy for them to put into their flowers. But once or twice a year, give them a good feeding with a slightly acidic type of fertilizer. Mulch them really well in the wintertime. They do like a deep, loamy soil. They're much happier in a nice, loamy soil. And we find they love cooler conditions, which is why you find them blooming in the late winter and the early spring. When it gets into the summer, midsummer, late summer, definitely want to check on them, make sure they're staying watered. But once they get established, they are pretty darn hardy. Their leaves here are pretty stiff. And a lot of these come with a dark, kind of a waxy colored type of leaf, which just makes them beautiful in the landscape. They make a great background plant. And they're evergreen, so they're not going to lose their leaves in the wintertime. As you can see here, he's blooming, still has his leaves, and I'm starting to see all kinds of new growth on this particular variety. These are hardy to about 5 degrees according to this particular tag. There are some that are hardy to -10 degrees, so definitely check your tags and check your zones. Most of these are very hardy between zones 5 and 8. So as you're out shopping for camellias, This is definitely one of my favorites in the wintertime, not only because it keeps its leaves and it has a fabulous structure, but they just provide just amazing looking flowers, and they smell amazing as well. In fact, this one, yeah, beautiful floral scent. So go out to your nurseries. They are getting them in now, just like we are. Lots of color varieties to choose from. I'll shoot some up there for you to kind of whet your appetite for camellias. But once you have these shrubs, they can last you the next 25, 30 years once they're established in your yards. You see them all over the place, on the East Coast as well as down south. So yeah, go invest in some camellias. They're a great structure type plant to put in your garden. All right, you guys, if you have any questions, of course, or any comments, there's lots of room in the description box down below. Or you can get a hold of me at gardenstylenw.com on my website, which I am starting to update. You can also get a hold of me at gardenstylenwest@gmail.com. And any questions at all, I'll be happy to answer them for you. And I just want to thank all the new subscribers. This channel just keeps growing. And of course, I think a lot of folks are starting to get that spring fever. So I think a lot more folks are starting to tune in to garden channels like mine, just so they can get up to speed and find out what's going on in the garden as we start moving into February. Now in my next video, next week, I'll be covering edibles like potatoes. Yes, it's gonna be February by the time I get to my next video, and that is the perfect time of the year to start planting seed potatoes. So I'll go over that and all the different ways you can go about planting potatoes, as you don't need a whole lot of space, not near as much room as you seem to think, in order to get a good crop of potatoes in the fall. All right, everybody, take care, have fun out there, stay warm, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.